Hey YouTube, Ryu here. Had someone comment on one of my videos where I was bitching about game companies, and they wanted to get my take on the whole EA Access debacle that was there. I don't even know if it's still a thing. I'm pretty sure it is, because it's just a way of them milking extra money out. But the way that I look at something like that, I don't have a problem with people renting video games. Now, that's a complete and total fine thing with me. But the problem is with a lot of these games, there's DLC and all of that, and if they're expecting you to buy DLC for a game that you've rented, for a game that you've paid money for, but you've paid money to have it for a set period of time, then that is absolutely ridiculous. There's no excuse for it. If they're going to rent the game to you, it should come with all the DLC that's out for it. If new DLC is released while you have the game rented, then guess what? It's added. That's the only way to really make something like that work. And you should also get access to any online features. You should get access to pretty much every bit of that game. There should be nothing that isn't in that game that wouldn't be in a retail copy. I was against online passes when they started pulling that bullshit. I'm still against that type of bullshit. If they're so afraid of used games, then what they need to do is they need to go digital, and they need to drop the price of their games and start pricing competitively. Period. End of story. If they're going to go ahead and continue to have physical copies, guess what? Stop bitching, suck it up, Buttercup, get your fucking act together, and expect people to buy the game used. Especially with the history of companies that we have right now, where companies release a game and it's in a buggy, broken state and doesn't end up getting fixed until 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 months later, at best. Or having to download a patch that's almost the full size of the game itself. So they're basically patching every last fucking thing in the game. These companies have eroded away the gamers' goodwill, and we're seeing the results of that now. A lot of people are buying used. A lot of people are going to digital only. So if a game only has a physical release, guess what? Its sales aren't as big as they were expecting. Why? Because people don't trust shit. And because... and a lot of these companies are now looking at PC with absolute fear because of things like Steam. Because all of a sudden Steam said, no, you're not allowed to do this anymore. They can ask for a refund. We're going to support the consumer. And so now all these companies are so fucking scared. And speaking of EA, them launching their own little thing, I think it was Yahtzee who said that they made their own little clubhouse. That's actually 100% accurate. And the thing is, they don't give you refunds. Once you type in that code, you're dead. They can sit there and have a game out there that you buy and it says it's the best thing since sliced bread. You load up the game, you know, you've got all of the art and all that, and it looks like this big epic thing, and then all of a sudden Pong pops up on your fucking screen. No refund for you. Now that's an extreme circumstance, but you know what? I could see EA doing that shit. And not as a April Fool's joke. I could see them actually trying that shit. Except for the fact that their lawyers would sit there and be pouncing on them going, no, you can't do this. That's misrepresentation. That's blatant false advertising. We will get sued into the fucking dirt. I wish EA would tell them to go ahead and shove it and go ahead and try it, just so that they could get sued for so much fucking money that EA would shut down, make a power vacuum, allow those indie developers to expand quickly and fill up that void. I absolutely despise game publishers. I often say Activision is where game franchises go to die. Well, look at Call of Duty. Look at what's happening there. Look at what happened with Destiny. So apparently, it's not just where game franchises go to die, it's where developers go to die. So not only is it a game franchise graveyard there, it's also a fucking dev graveyard. And EA is no fucking better. Look what they did to fucking Maxis. So when it comes to something like that from EA, I look at it kind of sideways. I don't even look it straight the fuck on. It's kind of like Medusa, you know? You gotta look at it in a fucking reflection. Or else you're gonna fucking turn to stone from the sheer ugliness of it. A service like that requires some level of trust from the consumer. These companies have earned none of that trust. They've done everything to destroy it. So, Salty, just letting you know, my opinion of that program is anyone who took part in it either has balls of steel or is a complete and total lemming. It's one of the two, because the fact of the matter is, that took so much trust on consumers' parts. And I've heard nightmare stories of it, and I've heard people say it was absolutely great. So the thing is, it all depends on what you're expecting out of it. I'm pretty sure that the people that were expecting something out of it were fans of all the games that were included in there. But if you're not a fan of every single game that's included in there, it is not worth the cost. It's not worth another monthly fucking fee. Or a yearly fee, or whatever scheme it goes with. That's how I look at this. Now, that means it's a niche audience. That means the price would not stay low for very long, because it wouldn't be there for the vast majority of people. And I haven't even looked into it as far as how they handle expansions. Something's telling me they don't include the expansions. So, if they include the expansions, then good on them. They actually did something right. So what are they doing extra wrong to make up for it? Because EA is constantly, it seems like they're trying to get the shittiest gaming company award. The only company that actually gives them a running for their money at this point is fucking Konami. Not even Activision. Activision is head and shoulders above EA. And I absolutely hate Activision. And for those who have forgotten their video game history, who released E.T.? I'm not talking about the movie. Not talking about the movie. Who released the video game for Atari? Right there, I have more than enough reason to not trust Activision. And the thing is you're starting to see other companies kind of making sounds in that general direction. To anyone who's listening, do not get these services. It isn't okay. It's you continuously paying for games. That is what they want. Remember with the Xbox? With the Xbox One, when they were talking about that DRM, if you looked in there, there was a bit of a problem. I'll let you go ahead and read through it. Go ahead. Find one of the many sites that still has that original agreement documented. What they were initially planning on. Go ahead. Have fun. But the fact of the matter is anyone who's willing to put that level of trust in a company and expect them to continue to release games in an actual viable state instead of you pay us for a limited time access for these games, and if you want to continue to play these games, you have to continue to pay. So yeah, let's say you go ahead, you get one of those services, you get 4 or 5 games that you want to go ahead and play, that you play regularly. Let's say it's $15 a month. Let's see, 2 months, that's $30. 4 months, that's $60. That's one of those games paid for. 8 months. That's 2 of the games paid for. 12 months. That's 3 of those games. Okay, so you got to play 2 of those games. Let's say you went with the top end, 5 games. All right, you got to play 2 of those games during that time frame. But how much time do you actually have to play games? Is it worth it? Now, did they include the DLC? Or did you have to buy that? So when you end up not being able to pay for the core game, well, now you don't get to play that expansion. What reason would they have for expansions instead of releasing sequel games? Cutting those games down to jack shit, fuck all, nothing. Padding out gameplay. Unskippable cutscenes. So on and so forth. All the negative things that we have. They'd have no reason to avoid doing any of that. They'd have every reason to do it. To basically make it a movie with a couple of gaming sections in between. So, the question is it worth it? The answer is a resounding no. And I feel very confident in saying that. Because the thing is that's under standard circumstances. Worst case scenario, it's a hell fucking no. Under the best case scenarios, it might be a eh. That's under best case. That's under perfect world scenarios. Good luck. So if people want to go ahead and start selling their rights down the river, that's on them. I will not be a part of that group. I will be one of the ones refusing to do that, and these companies will lose sales. They will ultimately lose money because there's a lot of people that would rather go and do something else than get trapped into something like that. Take a look at modern media. Look at TV packages and so on and so forth. The price is going up and up and up because fewer and fewer and fewer are consuming it. It's becoming unsustainable. You're going to have the same fucking problem with video games. And when that ends up happening, gaming will die again. Until another company comes out and says, hey, we're not doing that, we're actually releasing games. And it'll end up going into a cycle. So let's just go ahead and stop that cycle right now before it even fucking starts. I'm glad to see that the EA season pass thing is rocky at best. Not really self-sustaining. I'm glad to see that. And it's not because I'm against EA. Because if a company does something right, I of course want them to succeed when they do something right. But this right here is not meant to be friendly to the consumer. It's meant to reduce their costs while still charging you more money and making your purchases more worthless, but more profitable for them. That is the reason for this. Anyone who says otherwise is delusional. They're not actually thinking in business terms. These companies are there to make money. Like I've said in previous videos, people love to harp on that. Well, that means they are willing to do anything to make that money. And that includes selling your ass down the river. Don't fall for it. Be smarter than that. Make it to where the only people who do that are the hardest of hardcore fanboys. Let them get screwed. Let them get disillusioned and then end up coming over to the side of reason. Let them see exactly how much their precious companies give a fuck about them. Here's a secret. 0 fucks given. They don't care if you're happy or not. All they care is if you're willing to continue shelling out money. They don't care about your satisfaction. And as a company that is providing a service as well as a product, that is a horrible mindset, and they need to be kicked in the nuts for it. So, don't fall for it. Don't utilize those programs unless they're actually fucking worth it. And that means if DLC's there, if new DLC comes out, as soon as it's released, you get access to it. They do not charge you a single extra thing. No multi-tiered plans. No, oh, well, for this $15 a month, you get the base games, but you have to buy the expansions. For $25 a month, you get up until the latest expansion. But the newest expansion you have to buy. But for $30 a month, you get all of it. Don't fucking go for that shit. And I know these companies absolutely hate people like me because we call them out before they even fucking do shit. We close those doors before they even have a chance to open. We seal them shut. And we need more people out there saying this shit. We need more people out there calling them out beforehand. Yes, people will sit there and say, oh, you have a tinfoil hat on. It's all like, you know what? You can say I have a tinfoil hat all you want. But when you have to come back and say, damn, you were right, or holy shit, this guy was right, over and over and over again, eventually, the entire world's going to be wearing that fucking tinfoil hat. Because they're going to think that it magically makes them right on everything. Now, I'm not one of those people that believes in conspiracy theories. I am not one of those people. I poke fun at those people. But this is something where we've seen these patterns happen time and time and time again with other media, with other services, and it's time for us to start calling it out beforehand. Stop the fucking cycle. These companies have a Dark Souls mindset. They just keep throwing it up against the wall, hoping for it to stick. Trying to perfect it each time they throw a new throw. Time to remove the goddamn arm.